He recognised certain things weren't right, and when the opportunity to do something came, he took it.
Show me a picture.
Look at his hair, Nana.
I was 7 years old. I had no control of what hair I had.
I like
this one
that.
Doesn't like.
See, she don't like
She likes
that.
that one.
I like that one. I said, look at Tom here. Look.
Blossom. Tom. You really have blossom.
This is a good one here. So this was Auntie Jill's birthday.
At 50th.
And something great about Grandad is that he loved fancy dress and he loved dressing up and putting hats on and whatnot. And in this picture, he's got Kanye West glasses and a great hat, and he had a big cigar.
Every time we come in and every time we go, he'd sort of give us a cuddle, and then our head go.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time.
And we just sort of like put our head there and his.
I think he always listened, and that's something that was really important. He always encouraged you to talk, use your voice. He always encouraged you to go out and do things.
He involved us in all of it. He'd always get his legislation out and show us it. Then we understood the capacity of what he had done for people and how he'd changed the world. Having someone like that around you who sees an injustice and is affected by it enough to change, it makes you like that as well.
It was his personal story about his father being gassed in the war and having to live on a hospital bed in his front room, gasping for air. That was why he was radicalised into fighting for disability rights.
My father was incapacitated physically, so he was multiply disabled by war. Yet on his death certificate, it said that he died of cardiac failure, therefore that my mother would not be classified as a war widow. She wasn't told how to improve her standard of life. She was told how to economise on her husband's funeral. That to her was very wounding, and for the rest of her life she used to talk with some anguish, a mixture of anguish and anger, about the unfeeling approach to her when my father died. It was something that had a very deep effect on me as well.
There is an element of Mancunianism that allowed Alf, to where he was born in Ancoats. I mean, it's gentrified now, but it wasn't then. It's got great history, but it was a poor, rough area of Manchester. So he wasn't parachuted in, from a lofty castle. He scrambled around Great Ancoats Street and pulled himself up.
Oh, that's Alf as a kid. Do you know there were rehoused from Ancoats? There was 20 odd houses, so there was at least 10 kids in every house.
When we were younger, he used to tell us a lot of stories about when he was growing up, but as you grow up, you then realise how bad it was.
But he was always very positive about it. It never held him back, and it was never a negative. And it was where he met Nana, it's where he started his life, and it's where he saw injustice, it's where he saw things happen. And from that, it's what made him who he was, and want to do better and want to change and want to do great things. Although it can seem maybe as quite a challenging start, that's the foundation of what grew and what he achieved.
If you were wrong, he would make sure it sounded right. He would always find that moral hook, really, to sort of say, well, actually, I think you'll find that your window is in the wrong place and you smashed it. He absolutely was always saying, if it wasn't for your mother, I wouldn't be where I was today, because she's given up an awful lot, and she did.
Well, I never thought about it like that. You
I
didn't
know, because you're too modest to say, but you did give up an awful lot. And, because you had 4 children, you would have been definitely my dad's equal. He didn't want to do anything unless Mum was there. She was always by his side because he just adored her.
Alf Morris was a real true pioneer because he saw injustices, and only 6 years or so after he entered the House of Commons, he changed the world. And it was a lifelong project. He was a real visionary, he was a pioneer, and he had the heart of the people in his heart.
There was no legislation ever before on dyslexia. In fact, I was told by the Minister of Education at the time that it doesn't exist. And I said, well, I'll be keeping the clause. If it doesn't exist, it won't cost you anything. On many occasions, it was said when I introduced the bill to repatriate Australia's constitution that I'd be opening the floodgates for every other former colony of this country. And I said, well, I'm a serial saboteur of floodgates. It was necessary to open the floodgates for more disabled people to get mobility help, for dyslexic children to enter mainstream schooling, for the recognition of autism.
But that was his stubbornness. If he got a bee in his bonnet, that was a part of his persistence.
My dad didn't really worry about, whether he was popular or not. As long as he thought he was right and it was a good moral case, he would plough on and he would never give up.
We all have our own stories of family members who have disabilities, and Alf was their champion, and even beyond the grave continues to be their champion today.
I idolised him. He was like a movie star to me.
He played cricket with us and he actually played for the House of Commons. No one can ever remember him fielding. He was either batting or bowling.
My granddad Alf inspired me to care about people, and that's why I've gone into teaching.
My granddad Alf is the best granddad I could have asked for. Having that good role model in your life influences you.
Grandad always said to us, you treat people how you find them, and you don't judge them, you just take them for what you can, and you listen and you nurture.
He loved his roses. You have to be tough to be a rose. And let's say, well, you don't have roses without thorns. And I think he liked the smell. I think he liked them because they were tough and they were beautiful, yeah.